There are some new Seraphon on the way, and for you Lizardmen players, I'm guessing you'd be relatively excited, right? For those of you who don't know, there was a Warhammer event, a Warhammer preview at the Las Vegas Open, and there were all kinds of releases. If I'm honest, most of which I actually don't know what they are. 40k Strike Force Augustus, the Wrath of the Soul Forge King, Warhammer Underworld Norwood, and then the one we're sort of talking about today is the Seraphon for Age of Sigmar, which I'm guessing and assuming we'll be able to obviously use for Warhammer the Old World. And of course there's Warcry Bloodhunt, some Horus Heresy stuff, which is obviously interesting considering Warhammer the Old World is probably adjacent to that game, and Kill Team Soul Shackle. Anyway, let's jump into Seraphon. So they pretty much show off three main things: a new Slann, which they call the Slann Star Masters, and the detail on this thing is very, very nice. There's also a new breed of Seraphon Cavalry. Apparently you can build these as Raptidon Hunters or Raptidon Chargers. Basically it's skinks on raptors. They look pretty cool. And importantly, there is a new wave of Saurus Warriors, who I have to say the upgrade from the previous GW ones very much needed and looking pretty damn swell. The video that they put out showing those off, I have to say, makes them look very enticing. Effectively, the Saurus Warriors are probably the backbone of a Lizardmen army, so seeing new ones considering their old sculpts were a little bit outdated, I think is great. We can have a closer look at some of just the pictures on the website. Here is obviously the new Slann. I really like the new detail. This sort of little energy ball here is looking pretty cool. I like the fact that it's sort of hovering on this tree stump. Yeah, very jungle heavy, which is possibly a shame, but I mean, who's not putting their Lizardmen on jungle bases these days, I guess. The little new skink cavalry, I mean, it's just cute, innit? The raptors sort of look like chickens. It's literally the only thing I can see. They look like giant chickens ridden by little chameleon Lizardmen skinky things. Yeah, fine, cool. It will be interesting to see if we get rules for these in the old world when it drops. The way I sort of envision it working, if there's something that exists in the Age of Sigmar that can be used in Warhammer the Old World, I sort of suspect you'll be able to use it, right? Definitely the Saurus Warriors, like there's no reason not to, but these kind of things where it's like these new cavalry, maybe they'll add rules. I don't think there's rules for these in the Old World, but maybe there are and I just don't realize it. But yeah, they obviously look very, very nice. And the new warriors, I have to say, are very much an improvement. Here's the old ones, which obviously you're probably now not going to want to buy. And yeah, you can sort of tell they're showing their age a little bit. I mean, they're all right, but yeah, they're definitely showing their age. The new ones look a little bit more modern and a little bit more lively. I really like the shields. I really, really prefer the new shield. And the sort of heads look a little bit more primal. They look a little bit more like actual evil lizards in a way. And I think that's quite nice. And here you can see, apparently they've like have them split into the Coalesced and the Phantasmal Starborn. You Age of Sigmar people will probably understand what that is. I have no idea what that is. And you can sort of see there's a little bit of difference in the heads. You can sort of see, I don't know, this one, it curves up a little bit more. This one looks a little bit flatter. There's a few more spikes here. Yeah, like there's a difference, and I'm sure like obviously the kit is probably going to allow you to build both, right? But I really like them. Now, I'm not going to claim that they copied one-page rules at all. Like, I don't even want to imply that, but they give me a vibe of the one-page rules models a little bit. Obviously, one-page rules was taking inspiration from the original Lizardmen, but I think it sort of shows that the difference in quality necessarily between what Games Workshop can produce these days and what 3D printers can produce, probably not that different, right? I mean, this image is perhaps a little blurry, but you can sort of get the gist of the quality here. Like this one, for example, looks really nice. Like, I don't think the difference these days is becoming massive, and I think that's something that Games Workshop are obviously going to have to be a little bit worried about. But the models, yeah, they give me more of a one-page rules vibe than, say, the old Lizardmen vibe. And again, to reiterate, I'm not claiming that anybody copied anybody, because we know who's took inspiration from whom, but let's not really dwell too much on that. I just find the comparison interesting as we move into a more modern, you know, gaming world, shall we say, a more modern hobby. Now, timeframes, I'm not really sure I understand this enough. You people who understand this will probably be, you know, you'll be like, Jay, it's obvious. So what they say here is this release will be supported by a new battle tome, which means it's time to update the roadmap for 2023. You'll be seeing Gloomspite Gits and Beasts of Chaos very soon, while the Seraphon are planned for late spring alongside Redacted, Redacted, and Redacted. Okay, you see how it says late spring, and then the actual image has the Seraphon book in summer. Now, I mean, technically you could argue that late spring is, you know, the same as early summer. I just find that a little bit confusing. But importantly, they do say that's not all the Seraphon can look forward to in 2023. This teaser is just the crest of an enormous wave of righteous reptiles poised to wash over the mortal realm. So I don't know if that means they'll come out at the same time, or if after that there's going to be like an additional wave. Either way, that's pretty cool. And I think if you were thinking about getting a Lizardmen army, then these are the models you're probably going to want to buy, right? I'd be very surprised if they end up redoing the Saurus warriors just for the old world. I don't think that's likely. It's a little bit like with the Warriors of Chaos. Those models are probably going to be useful in the old world, because what's the alternative? That they do another set of models just for the old world and they completely like remake that game. I just find that unlikely. I honestly believe that you'll be able to use these models in the old world. The only question really is how are they going to rank up, because the scale seems to have got a little bit bigger, and will they fit on the original bases and actually rank up nicely? Well, that's a question obviously I can't answer right here. So I always feel a little bit weird talking about Age of Sigmar because I know very little of it, but there's going to be some crossover between Age of Sigmar models and the old world. Like, I'm pretty convinced about that. It doesn't really make any sense for it not to be the case. I can't imagine them making 12 new army ranges. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So if you're thinking about like getting a lizard army, obviously by the time that these come out in late spring or early summer, you might know more information about the old world, so maybe you better wait in. But in my eyes, there's some armies that are like safe, and then other armies where like they might not have been safe. Like the Lizardmen, the old Saurus, they were probably always on the chopping block just because they were looking a little bit dated. I'll be very, very surprised if they keep the old ones around just for the old world, or they make new ones. Like, it just doesn't make sense in my eyes. Anyway, I feel a bit weird doing news on games that I'm not actually that interested in, but hopefully there is some crossover with the old world. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you want to support the channel, then becoming a Patreon is the best way. Otherwise, have a most beautiful day, like and subscribe. Goodbye.